WWE now broadcasting in 8K. They were using some fancy new cameras on Friday night and last night. However, there is no amount of high-end, high-definition equipment that can fix the lack of focus that this show currently has. This is Raw Graded. Raw starts with Randy Orton Jr. Randy Orton, after being burned by Alexa Bliss, is now wearing a mask. Some people online saying that it looks like Mr. Wrestling 2, which is actually a striking comparison. And in some of Randy Orton's wrestling style is eerily similar to Mr. Wrestling 2 as well. So that's quite in keeping if that is the case. He says that his compassion for Alexa Bliss has made him hate himself. He's been turning that hatred out on other people. And he says he doesn't blame Alexa Bliss for what happened last week. He blames him, the Fiend. And says that not even chopping all of his limbs off will stop him from winning the Royal Rumble. Randy Orton, not just Mr. Wrestling 2 this week, but also the Black Knight from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. That isn't even the weirdest reference we get from this show. Just saying. Orton lights a match, promises to main event WrestleMania, and then blows it out. Opening was a B+ for me. Randy Orton is great when it comes to these very intimate promos, and he was very strong in some of his verbiage here. A lot of stuff that you didn't need. The mood music wasn't necessary. I think Randy Orton delivers a better promo without a lot of other accoutrement around it. And I thought it went on a bit long. You could have truncated it and it still would have been effective, if not more so effective. But it was a good way to start off Raw. First match of the night is Charlotte Flair versus Peyton Royce. Ric Flair and Lacey Evans arrive just before this. Lacey's doing this thing where Ric Flair can't answer questions. She always talks on his behalf now. She says that Ric Flair has proved time and time again why he is the dirtiest player in the game. He lived up to that last week. Says that she's there to learn from one of the best of all time, and they are going to go and watch her tag team partner Peyton Royce beat up Charlotte Flair. And as Lacey leaves, she's asking Ric Flair about the Four Horsemen, and you can hear Ric sort of lighting up as he's talking. He's got this sort of guilt-ridden smile that he keeps busting out when Lacey's talking. Like, he knows that he should be looking after his daughter, but he's also a bit of a pervert, so he's truly torn. Charlotte Flair's match with Peyton Royce starts on the ramp as Peyton Royce attacks Charlotte from behind. Referees break this scrap up, and when we come back from the break, the match gets underway proper, and it is a proper scrap. They're just scratching and clawing and punching and kicking at one another. It falls outside the ring. Peyton Royce trying to get some distance from Charlotte Flair as she starts to take the lead. Flair chops the ring post because Peyton Royce ducks out of the way. She doesn't just do it for fun. Peyton ducks, Charlotte bangs the ring post, and this leads Peyton to take charge for a little while. Flair mounts a comeback after Peyton Royce throws her into the corner. Charlotte Flair does a Flair flop over the ropes and then follows it up with a springboard roll-up through the ropes, which I thought looked really nice. Really nice little bit from there. As Charlotte is mounting a comeback, Ric Flair's music hits. Here comes Daddy Nate, along with Lacey Evans, who's got a Flair robe on. And this just gets the dander of Charlotte Flair up. And she takes her eye off the Peyton-shaped ball, and Peyton boots her in the face for a near fall. Peyton Royce has a comeback here, ever so briefly, but Charlotte Flair is she's on most of this for the match, and despite Peyton Royce hitting a lovely scorpion kick through the middle rope, I thought that looked really, really nice. Charlotte Flair is able just to keep on pushing onto Peyton Royce, boots her off the apron at one point, and as that has happened, Charlotte Flair is in the ring, egging Lacey Evans and Flair to come back. They've legged it at this point, wanting them to come back and get a piece of Charlotte. Peyton Royce just makes the count to save herself in this match, but Charlotte Flair is intense from here, just starts pouncing onto Peyton Royce, stomps to the back, and looks to break her leg at one point pretty much in the corner, but Peyton's able to avoid it, have one final flurry, but the night belongs to Charlotte. She manages to wear down the leg of Peyton Royce and put the figure 8 on, and as soon as as Peyton taps out, Charlotte Flair decides, no, I'm not going to let go, and just keeps the hold on for another 30-odd seconds until referees finally encourage her to break the hold. Flair looks despondent as she has her hand raised as the winner. This was a B- to open the show. There were some really good spots throughout this. There was also some ropey moments in there as well. Charlotte's a weird one. Charlotte is so good as a heel. I'm not buying into her as this babyface upset with her daddy. I'm not. And I think she's better used as a heel, to be perfectly honest. Backstage, the Hurt Business come across Riddle, make some digs about what he's wearing. Riddle fires back saying how great they look and saying, hey, nobody will accuse you of being sloppy Bobby. Bobby Lashley ushers away the Hurt Business and says, I'll deal with this guy on my own. Tells Riddle that flip-flops are bad for his feet, in which he stomps on the ground and Riddle holds his foot. And Lashley says, see, I told you. The problem with this bit is, and you've probably seen this online already, is that the camera pans down as Lashley goes to stomp, and it's clear that Lashley stomps the ground near Riddle's foot, doesn't stomp on Riddle's foot, but Riddle hits the ground anyway, holding his foot. It was quite a moment. I could talk about it more, but you know what? I'm going to let Ross Tweddle handle this. WTF moments from Monday Night Raw with Ross later on today on the Cultaholic YouTube channel. Ding. We hear from Mustafa Ali, who is talking earlier on today about the Kofi Kingston injury, saying that he's glad that Kofi got injured, saying that not only is his jaw broken, Retribution are going to break his heart and his spirit when they destroy Xavier Woods. He then says, I hope that Kofi Kingston misses the Royal Rumble and has to sit out at WrestleMania so he can feel the misery that he felt getting replaced. Kofi Kingston would respond to this on Twitter later on in the night. And so this is the story that we're going with Ali upset about Kofi Kingston taking his spot a couple of years ago, the spot he took that led to Kofi Mania and all of that stuff. I like it as a story. Get behind that completely. I like it a lot. In ring, it's Xavier Woods taking on Mace from Retribution. How lovely is the 8K camera as Xavier Woods walks to the ring? Oh, beautiful, beautiful. However, in the ring, not so much. Woods batters Ali before the bell with a nice pop to the face, and then when the match gets started properly, Woods is being quick like a cat trying to get out of the way of Mace, the bigger guy. But Mace eventually catches him in the corner, drops him with a stalling choke slam from the corner to the ground. Mace is just wearing down Woods at this point with face locks and head twists and fish hooks and all of that stuff. Woods manages to mount a comeback with a low drop kick and a spin kick, sending Mace out of the ring. Retribution rally at this point, and then when Mace gets back into the ring, not long after, Woods falls prey to a tilt-a-whirl slam for the 1, 2, 3. After the match, Ali looks down the camera and says, tell Kofi that Retribution says get well soon. Giving this one a C. I thought it was alright. It was a serviceable match. It wasn't anything groundbreaking, and you know what? The Retribution New Day storyline is something I can get behind. Alexa's Playground up next with special guest Asuka. Now, I like the playground setup. AstroTurf, a slide, a swing, rocking horse. It's really lovely. We've got Bliss on the swing, and she addresses the Viper in the room, saying that things got a bit heated between her and Randy Orton last week. Offers him some sunblock advice. It's very kind of her. She introduces her special guest, the Raw Women's Champion and the WWE Women's Tag Champion, Asuka. Asuka skips to the ring, goes to sit on the swing next to Bliss, and Bliss says, that's not your seat. She then starts a conversation with the invisible person sat on the swing, whilst Asuka sort of cautiously, skittishly heads to the other side of the ring. Alexa announces that she is entering the Royal Rumble, and Asuka is delighted for her. And they even moot the idea that they might face each other in the main event of WrestleMania. And Asuka is really excited about that. Asuka is giddy and nervous at the same time, saying she's a big fan of Bliss. Hits us with a yowie wowie, which really upsets Alexa Bliss. And she says some words to whoever is sat next to her as she does. Asuka just being really anxious and nervous doesn't suit her. And she's trying to ease the tension by inviting Bliss to have a dance. Asuka asks her music to get played and she starts dancing. Bliss gets angry with Asuka, tells them to turn the music off, and then she gets sad, sat on the swing, talking to whoever sat next to her. Asuka tries to comfort her, saying that the Fiend is still here. Bliss gets angry at Asuka saying his name. Then a rocking chair starts rocking. Bliss smiles, and Asuka, weirded out, just leaves. This was a D-. I don't mind the spooky stuff. I don't. I think it's an interesting little thing they're doing at the moment, and it's done so beautifully with the Fiend and Alexa Bliss. I'm enjoying the development of Alexa Bliss's character, but this whole segment, didn't like it. Wasn't very good. It was meaningless. It was directionless. It made Asuka, a double champion, look weak. So weak. You could have put a number of people into this position on this night, and it would have been fine. Not Asuka, who is sort of the top of the tree, who you're meant to be chasing. Why do this with her here? Could you imagine? Okay, the opposite of this, right? Alexa doing this to Asuka is like the Fiend spooking Drew. Alexa, off. Imagine Drew McIntyre meeting the Fiend in the ring going, oh, I'm a big fan of what you do. I'd love to face you. Just don't hit me. Could you imagine that? It'd be uproar. It'd look rubbish. And it's the same thing. This really just wears down Asuka. You don't need to put Asuka in this position. You can build to Alexa and Asuka without having to do this bit that made Asuka look like a terrified child. Miz and Morrison are backstage. No spoilers for what they've got cooking on the dirt sheet tonight, but they promise it'll create controversy, and controversy creates cash, like Money in the Bank. Good Eric Bischoff autobiography reference. I appreciated it. Jeff Jarrett, in his home, picks Goldberg to become the WWE champion. Shut up, Jeff. No one asked you. Mandy Rose and Shayna Baszler going one-on-one next. Baszler, in a promo beforehand, says that she will beat anybody to become the winner of the Royal Rumble, including her own tag partner, something that Nia Jax, who stood next to her, takes a little bit of umbrage with before they head off to the ring for the match. Nia Jax is on commentary for this one. Mandy gets a little start on Baszler, roll up and a quick bit of offense, but no, Baszler dominates, wears her down very slowly and methodically. We see another flurry from Mandy, but it's just not enough. Baszler stomps on the arm of Mandy. Dana Brooke tries to get involved, distracting Baszler long enough for Mandy to recover and get a roll-up. One final flurry from Mandy Rose, but she ends up getting her arm, the one that was kicked, stomped to the ground by Baszler. She gets that kicked. Shortly after that, gets it coiled, dropped, and then gets put in the clutch, and she taps out. After the match, Baszler and Nia Jax are having an argument. Dana Brooke on the ring apron does a drop kick to the back of Jax. She goes flying into Baszler, and she goes flying into the turnbuckle post as Dandy make a run for it, the cheeky scamps. This was a C. It was what it was. It was a serviceable match. Wasn't great. Just keeps things ticking over ahead of the Rumble, I guess. After the break, in an interview with Jax and Shayna Baszler, they're asked about some of the issues they've had recently, and rightly so. Nia Jax says, we've always disliked each other. It's just, that's how we've always rolled. Like Charlotte Flair and Asuka don't like each other. In fact, we need to take advantage of our rematch clause. So, as it turns out, we find out later on that Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler are getting a rematch for the women's tag titles against Charlotte Flair and Asuka at the Royal Rumble. And I'm going to put my prediction out there early. I think they're winning the belts back. I don't see any means or merit for Charlotte Flair and Asuka to be holding them at the moment. So I reckon they'll win them back. Just putting that out there. We also hear from Charlotte, who says that Lacey Evans may wear her dad's robes, but she will never wear her crown. We're getting a Charlotte Flair and Lacey Evans rivalry as well, so happy days. Adam Pearce is backstage. He gives Ricochet an opportunity against AJ Styles. Hopefully that could lead to big things for him. Ricochet is grateful for the opportunity, and here comes AJ Styles to interrupt Pearce, saying that he tucked his tail between his legs on SmackDown. As you know, we reflect on the contract signing from the other day. Ricochet says Styles clearly has amnesia, like Drew Barrymore in 50 First Dates. That's a heck of a reference to pull out in 2021. He reminds AJ how he blew it at TLC, and Styles is very upset with this. Ricochet's promising victory tonight, and Styles says that he doesn't like Adam Pearce. And if he doesn't like Adam Pearce, Omos doesn't like him either. Cue Adam Pearce doing almost a cartoony gulp as he looks up as Omos, like everyone is contractually obligated to do near Omos. Ricochet and AJ Styles is right up next. Lots of quick cover attempts early on in this one. Ricochet getting an early advantage after he avoids a Styles clash, hits a couple of Hurricane Ranas, and he hits a leg scissor baseball slide as well. Ricochet goes to dive outside of the ring, but Omos catches him, and the referee, like he was scolding a dog that brought in a squirrel, is going, "Put him down! Put him down!" And Omos goes, "All right," and just drops Ricochet to the floor. During the break, AJ is in control. Ricochet starts to push back when he lands a tilt-a-whirl DDT. Also lands a lovely backflip German suplex. That looked really, really nice. We'll see that more often. He goes for a springboard moonsault. I think he was meant to be into another tilt-a-whirl DDT, but there's a bit of miscommunication. AJ falls back. Ricochet lands in a weird way, but they're both pros. They pick it up. Brainbuster immediately afterwards for a near fall for AJ. AJ goes for a phenomenal forearm. Ricochet turns it into the recoil in midair. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Chef's kisses all over the place, thank you. But Ricochet's too injured to take advantage of the move. Only gets a 2. Then Ricochet goes for a springboard for the finish. AJ catches him in like a suplex position, drops him stun gun style on the top rope, and as Ricochet bounces off the top rope, AJ catches him into a Styles clash and spins him 180, hits the move, 1, 2, 3. Finish. Chef's kisses. That match was an A. Best thing on the night so far. These two had a great match. I would love to have seen a few minutes from a few other segments given to this and given this a bit more time, because I loved this. Great work from both. Excellent finish as well. If you watch one thing from Raw, watch this. So we go to the dirt sheet because everyone needs a chat show. Miz and Morrison have theirs, and just before the break, we get the bombshell that they've organised a special guest in Goldberg. They bring out Goldberg, but it's not Goldberg, is it? No, it's not Goldberg. It's only Dwayne Gill. Gillberg's in the house. The moment those people turned up on stage with the sparklers, I was like, I know what this is. I know what this is. It's Gillberg. Bless him. He had a heart attack in November. He's looking great. So he walks to the ring, snarling and gnashing as he does. They start interviewing Goldberg. And he says, and he asked him how he's training for the Royal Rumble. He says, I've been bashing my head against walls and blowing smoke out of my bottom. And as this is going on, Drew McIntyre's music hits. Is Drew McIntyre coming out to save this whole thing? No, it's not Drew McIntyre. It's the actor who played Bernard the Elf in The Santa Claus, dressed as Drew McIntyre. I know he's done other things. I know. He is constantly adjusting his wig. He gets in the face of Gillberg, saying that he's going to beat him at the Royal Rumble and then go home and eat some haggis. John Morrison sort of workshopping the Scottish accent with Bernard, and Bernard asks if they need to shoot again. He's reminded that they're live, and Miz thinks what I'm thinking, saying this has become a train wreck. They take it home by saying that neither Goldberg or Drew are leaving the Royal Rumble as WWE champion. In fact, the Miz is going to cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase. He says, because I'm the Miz and I'm next. He holds up his briefcase as Drew waves at the crowd, and Gillberg just stands there and yeah. That was the segment. This was a D+. The saving grace was seeing Gillberg again. It was nice to see Gillberg again, but this just felt like Alexa's Playground, just a bit misdirected. No direction to it. There was no point to it. Normally with something like this, you'd have either Goldberg or Drew come out and beat up the imposters, and then it's fine. Or you could have had Miz and Morrison beat up the imposters. They did neither. They all just stood there at the end like a weird, happy family. It's like they just put in the running order dirt sheet segment, Alexa's Playground segment, and they don't think anymore. It feels like they don't think anymore about it. They don't think of an out. And an out is the most important part. Distinct lack of outs on some of these, and it really affects it, and it really drags the quality down. Up next, the Hurt Business are taking on the Lucha House Party and Riddle. Riddle's got his foot taped up from that earlier stomp by Bobby Lashley. And the story of this match is the Hurt Business just are not getting along. Cedric Alexander starts out the match, and neither Bobby or Shelton want to tag in. They're just letting him get on with it after his outburst from previous weeks. Eventually, Shelton tags himself in, takes over on some of the match, and a few minutes later, probably even less than that, Cedric tags himself back into it. And there's just bitterness between Shelton and Cedric throughout the match. Eventually, this leads to Cedric getting in the face of Shelton and Shelton pushing Cedric out of the ring. And during the break, MVP chews out Cedric Alexander. Hurt Business get their business together, and they continue to dominate throughout this match. Lince Dorado getting a beating from Shelton, but there's still no nice tags back and forth. It's still quite aggressive tags with Shelton and Cedric tagging themselves in and bickering as it happens. And this goes on for quite a while until Lince Dorado hits a crossbody to wipe out Alexander, makes the hot tag to Riddle. Riddle runs wild on everyone until he misses a floating bro. After this, he tags to Grand Metalik. Quick run by Metalik, but ends up beating a brainbuster by Cedric Alexander. Alexander gets up and gets in the face of Shelton Benjamin after doing the move, sort of showing off how great he is. And Bobby Lashley's had enough. Lashley tags himself in, hits a spear on Metalik and gets the 1, 2, 3. Hurt Business having a big old argument in the ring afterwards, and Riddle attacks Lashley from the side and makes a run for it to end this whole segment. B- for this. There was some good bits in this match and some good storytelling from the Hurt Business as well. Feel like it went on a bit long though. Like you told that story well in the first few minutes. You didn't need to add like another 3 or 4 minutes of tags in and like self tags and stuff. It was stretched a little bit more than it needed to be. Again, a couple more minutes you could have given to AJ and Ricochet. I'm just saying. Jaxson Ryker apologizes to Elias for getting signals crossed last week, to which Elias says, "Signals crossed? This is not Thomas the Tank Engine." What are the references this week? The references are just something else this week. They really are. Anyway, they're hoping for no misunderstandings this week. And Ryker promises to beat Jeff Hardy until he accepts the ultimate truth of Elias. We then hear from Drew McIntyre, who watched the segment from the Dirt Sheet earlier. He says he'll see Miz and Morrison soon. They're getting beaten up. Happy days. He then turns his attention to Bill Goldberg and says that he respects Goldberg and says he got a glimpse of the old Goldberg 2 weeks ago on Raw when Goldberg pushed him to the ground. Drew says that Goldberg needs to come to the Rumble, otherwise he'll be eaten alive in 2 minutes. Drew McIntyre says that he will be back on Raw next week, and we find out later in the night that Goldberg is going to be on Raw next week as well to get us home for the Royal Rumble. Jeff Hardy takes on Jaxson Ryker next. Hardy starting strong. Ryker avoids a splash in the corner and hits a clothesline to take control. Some slow plodding offense from Ryker ends when Jeff hits a jawbreaker, followed by a neck breaker, goes up for a swanton bomb breaker, but Elias Breaker pushes him off the top rope breaker for a DQ breaker. And that's the end of the match. Post-match, Jaxson Ryker is arguing with Elias, saying, "You weren't supposed to interfere." Some cross junctions once again there, Thomas, you splendid engine, you. Jeff Hardy goes to attack Jaxson Ryker, only to eat a boss man slam for his trouble. That was a C. Serviceable, nothing groundbreaking. The Elias Hardy rivalry stumbles on. Happy days. We come to the main event. It is Alexa Bliss versus Asuka. Some techers to start us off. Asuka taking the lead. Bliss going for a couple of roll-up attempts, smiling sweetly as she does. She seems quite jovial, even when she's being beaten up, a la The Fiend and Bray Wyatt. As we see Asuka start to wipe the smile off her face with numerous kicks and a shining wizard, Bliss gets out of the ring, gets back into the ring, and then the lights go out. When we come back from break, the arena is decked in a purple light, and there in the middle of the ring is Alexa Bliss, now wearing all black with black lipstick, emotionlessly staring down the camera. Asuka is circling her, doesn't quite know what to do with this version of Alexa Bliss. Bliss counters every single one of Asuka's moves until she lands a kick to the gut. And Bliss still able to push back from this, lands a shoulder block on Asuka that sends her flying out of the ring. She gets kicked in the face and does Bray's tarantula in the corner. When noticing as well that her lipstick has been smudged, as she rubs her hand, sees the lipstick on her hand, and then decides to turn it into a mandible claw attempt. She goes for it on Asuka. Asuka manages to avoid it. She fights back, but Bliss manages to catch her in a Sister Abigail position, holds her there for a lifetime, stares down the barrel of the camera, hits it. 1, 2, 3. Bliss pins Asuka just like that. And she stands up. The camera flickers, and all of a sudden Bliss is back to as she was, in a pink shirt, smiling, waving, looking lovely. And then the booming voice of Bray Wyatt comes through her mouth saying, "Let me in." And that is where we end Monday Night Raw. Giving the main event a B. Like, nothing groundbreaking in ring with the wrestling, but the spectacle was very good. I'm not against some of the special effects and stuff in these matches. I think it looks really cool. Nice to try stuff like that. The big thing for me is it doesn't need to be Asuka doing this. I feel like you can have this with someone else. Like, Asuka should be the final boss for Bliss, not an early contender. This needs to be at the other end of the scale. This feels like it's the wrong way round. Unless now we don't see Bliss and Asuka interact until WrestleMania, should Bliss win the Rumble. Maybe that's where we go. I don't know. But I was upset with the playground stuff earlier on. Less upset with this. Very much upset with the portrayal of Asuka in that segment as opposed to in this match. And overall this week, Monday Night Raw is getting a C-. Just another ropey episode of Raw overall with some highlights in there. AJ Styles and Ricochet saved this one for me. They had a great night. But a lot of the segments just lacked that focus, lacked that commitment to the cause. The playground bit did nothing for Asuka at all. It made the champion look really weak. The match, you kind of recovered a little bit, but only a little bit. Dirt sheet didn't go anywhere. There's focus with new cameras, but there needs to be focus in other places as well as we get ready for the Royal Rumble. Drew and Goldberg on next week. Intrigued to see how they'll sell this to us in the final Raw before the show. We'll all find out together, won't we? Stay safe. Love you, bye.